What is up, everybody? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and today's video is going to be focusing on the second DMC novel. Devil May Cry Volume 2 was published in 2006 and houses just over 200 pages. Of course, the author from the first book, Shinya Goikedo, he returns, however there is a different artist this time around. So for brevity's sake, this summary will only be focusing on the key plot points of the book. When the book initially opens up, we are introduced to Beryl, a red-headed woman who just so happens to fight demons with an anti-tank gun. The book then shifts to the character we all know and love, Dante, whilst he's discussing some work with Enzo, who again is a returning character from Devil May Cry 1 and the Devil May Cry novel. Through a series of circumstances, Dante and Beryl obviously meet, where Beryl explains that she's been hunting down a specific statue, the Beast Head statue, for quite some time. And at the same time that she's discussing this with Dante, the Beast Head statue happens to find its way into the hands of a youth by the name of Dukas. After some time and deliberation, Dante does indeed decide to help Beryl in her investigation of the Beast Head statues. Subsequently, they go on to track it to the location of Dukas, who just so happens to be under the protection of a local crime boss by the name of Chen. And of course, because things are never simple, Chen just so happens to have access to some demonic power, so whilst Dante and Beryl are fighting off the minions that Chen summons, Dukas obviously escapes. Following the escape of Dukas, the Beast Head statue decides to metamorphosize and manifests into a giant demonic three-headed dog. Now, obviously hearing the words giant demonic three-headed dog makes you think of Cerberus, but no, this is a different demon entirely. In fact, that's why when translating the book into English, they decided not to name the demon Cerberus, because obviously at this point DMC3 was already out and they wanted to avoid any confusion whatsoever. And in a funny turn of events, it is the Beast Head demon that goes and tracks Dante and Beryl this time. Of course, the son of Sparda has no issue fighting against the Beast Head demon. However, Beryl, being only human, is simply incapacitated just by the aura of despair that the demon outputs. However, at this point, that no longer matters because Dante swiftly defeats the demon, and this is when things start to get off the bloody rails. Following the defeat of the Beast Head demon, both Dante and Beryl are transported to a parallel world where Mundus captured Dante as a child, and Virgil goes on to lead all of Mundus's lieutenants against him in a raid. Realizing that Mundus is alive in this parallel world, Dante vows to defeat him yet again. It is at this point though that the housing complex that Dante and Beryl are situated in is attacked by an army of Trishas. At this point, Dante, along with many of Mundus's lieutenants such as Griffin, Phantom, Shadow, Frost and Blade, give their lives in helping Dante fight off all the Trishas and get to Mundus's castle. The two protagonists don't stick around for long, however, as Dante swiftly defeats Mundus as Beryl watches. Our protagonists then find themselves waking up in their original world in one of Chen's laboratories, where we find out that Chen himself has been experimenting with demons, which explains why he has access to some demonic power. We also come to find out that the Beast Head statue was not destroyed. We find out that the statue's true purpose is to provide immense demonic power at the cost of corrupting and devouring your soul. Along with this revelation, Chen decides to devour the statue entirely in the hopes of getting enough power to defeat Dante. Of course, this doesn't work, as the two protagonists lead a combined assault and finally finish Chen once and for all. The novel ends with a prelude to DMC2, where we see Lucia's dagger fly into Dante's office, bearing an invitation to the museum seen in that game's opening. And that's about 200 pages wrapped up into 4 minutes. However, there are a few other things that I do want to touch upon. First off, Beryl does state that when fighting the Beast Heads, she is reminded of Sparda when seeing Dante fight, stating that she was told the fairy tale of Sparda as a child, sort of cementing the idea that Sparda is known worldwide, however most believe him to be nothing but a simple child's tale. The second thing I want to touch upon is the idea of a potential romance between Dante and Beryl. Now, of course, there's nothing overt in the book, However, you can kind of get a sense of a vibe between the two characters, subtle hints potentially here and there, but considering Beryl has only been seen in this book, you Trish and Dante shippers should be safe. The third thing, probably the biggest thing that I want to talk about, is the inclusion of a parallel world in this novel. Now, this is the first time we've ever heard of there being a parallel world in the DMC universe, but if you want to consider this book canon, which I'll discuss in a second, then this is a pretty big find and opens up the door to a lot of possibilities. On the topic of how canon this book is, that depends. This book is set before the events of DMC2, and of course we know DMC5 is set after DMC2. I'd also like to add that there's nothing in this book that directly conflicts with anything else in the series, but the point is, this hasn't been mentioned anywhere in the series. And because this book is obviously tied with DMC2, and Capcom doesn't like talking about DMC2, you can understand why that is. But I will say that considering Capcom is pulling from some more obscure DMC media, like the first Devil May Cry novel, there is a chance that they could pull some stuff from this book too. And that about wraps this video up. If you like what you saw, please consider liking and subscribing, and letting me know your thoughts down in the comments below. The channel also has a Discord if you want to get in there and talk some DMC with DMC fans, and I have a Twitter if you want to get at me personally. It has been me, DevilNeverCry. I would like to thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you next video.